Joe Vardon, senior NBA writer for The Athletic, joins us. Joe, your thoughts, your reflections, the legacy of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I was in Philadelphia last night covering the Lakers and 76ers for The Athletic on a night where LeBron James literally passed Kobe for third place on the all-time NBA scoring list. And so Kobe was already back in the discussion last night, and his career and what he meant not only to the sport but to the players who came while he was in the league and also after. And obviously, I mean, to say I'm shocked and sad and don't know what to do or say, I mean, to join the club. But to be already talking about Kobe overnight leading into this, and you just realize to be a winner of 5 NBA championships like he was, and to be third on the all-time scoring list ahead of Michael Jordan like he was, you know you're talking about one of the game's all-time greats. But I feel like the thing that has set Kobe apart from some of the greats before him and has changed, I think, the way basketball will be going forward is his willingness to mentor later in his career in a way that Michael certainly never did.
We talked about that, you know, in that interview. And what were they saying last night? What does he mean to the sport and to the players? Let me just read you a quote, his last quote last night about that game when LeBron passed him to be number 3 of the all-time scorers. Kobe tweeted, quote, "Continuing to move the game forward at King James. Much respect, my brother," with the bicep arm. Number 33644, and that is being retweeted and commented on across the globe, an indication of the generosity, the kindness of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, and LeBron had something to say about that. He said that it's cool to know that you have the support of one of the all-time greats that ever played this game and someone that you admired to be like on the floor. You don't have that much time to play this game, and if you're able to be remembered for the great things that you did, the positive things that you did, making people feel great about what you did, that's a pretty cool thing. And a lot of people took that quote to mean LeBron was comparing Kobe to Michael, and again, just showing the way that Kobe sort of, once he realized that he had lost a step and would be retiring, that he wanted to be that bridge for the next batch of NBA players to be great.
And did you deal with him, and how often did you deal with him? What was it like? Because you can see him as the public. We know what he's like on the court, but off the court in your personal interactions. Jim has been very emotional this afternoon and spectacular in his remembrances and thoughts of this man who you guys knew personally.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when I came into the league, it was 6 years ago, and so it was definitely towards the end of Kobe's career, and he had already become, you know, the NBA elder statesman and was already revered. But I, at the time, was covering the Cavaliers for the Cleveland Plain Dealer and Cleveland.com, and so everything was viewed through the prism of Kobe and LeBron as Kobe kind of rode off into the sunset. And also just sort of the impact that he had on Kyrie Irving, and he sort of challenged Kyrie to be the sort of the lightning rod in the locker room and to cause a disturbance if there wasn't one, because controversy in a year can be beneficial as you get into the playoffs. And so you asked me what my impressions of Kobe were, and I was always amazed at how polished and well thought he was, but then also you could see and listen to this man who could be so calm and measured in his remarks, knowing that he had that killer instinct and that he had the ability to just go out there and take your heart from your chest. And that was the essence of Kobe.
You finally, I mean, you see that flair, you see that drive, you see that dedication, you see it in Kyrie. I saw it up in Boston. He's now with the Nets. I mean, is that a lasting legacy? To really go for it in terms of playing the way, the mechanics and the strategy of approaching that game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Kobe, and he's not the first player to work hard, certainly, but Kobe with his his mantra, the Mamba mentality, and that is something that is spread not only to Kyrie but to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and on through sort of today's crop of stars. Just this idea of wanting the last shot and working so hard for so long to put yourself in a position to want to take that shot. Players all over the place write Mamba mentality on their shoes, and Kobe actually had an academy that he started inviting these guys to over the summer. Players who've won finals and won MVP, and they came to Kobe for guidance. So yeah, I really think when you talk about a lasting legacy, and there can be so many things. There can be his titles. There could be his time with Shaq. There could be his role as a global ambassador in China and also with Team USA. The problem parts of his life and certainly in his career, that all those things play into it, what he was able to do post-career. But I really think, guys, that the Mamba mentality part of this is going to be the enduring legacy. And that is, Michael was sort of remembered that way in part, and Kobe was the next guy. He was the killer. In a way that LeBron actually really isn't. They're very different that way. And so I do think, 20 years from now, when we still talk about Kobe, that's what we'll remember.
A man of generosity and caring who gave of himself, excellence, professionalism, on and off the court. Joe Vardon, senior NBA writer for The Athletic, thank you for joining us on this very sad Sunday afternoon and sharing with you your thoughts of the legacy and life of Kobe Bryant.